The train exhaled steam and pulled away, leaving Mai Lin standing alone on the wooden platform as if she had been quietly erased. For one sharp moment, she believed this had to be a mistake, that someone would come running, calling her name, waving the letter she had crossed an ocean for. But the sound of the wheels faded, and with it went the last fragile thread of certainty she had carried to Montana. Snow drifted sideways in the wind, dry and biting, stinging her cheeks like needles. Mai Lin clutched her small suitcase with both hands, the leather worn thin from a journey that had already taken everything she had. Around her, the station felt too wide, too empty, like a place meant to remind newcomers how small they were. A few men lingered near the building, their voices low, curious. They looked at her the way people look at something out of place, something that doesn't belong. She waited anyway. Minutes stretched, heavy and slow. Each passing second pressed harder on her chest. She unfolded the letter once more, smoothing the creases with care, as if kindness might return if the paper looked neat enough. The words were written in careful English, promises of a husband, of a home, of safety. He had described Montana as honest land, harsh but fair, a place where hard work mattered more than where you came from. The letter trembled in her hands. No footsteps approached. No voice spoke her name. A laugh drifted from behind her. Not loud, not cruel, just careless. She did not turn around. She had learned long ago that meeting such looks only made them linger longer. Instead, she stared down the tracks, half expecting the train to reverse itself out of pity. The cold seeped into her boots, climbed her legs, settled deep in her bones. She told herself not to cry. Tears were useless here. Tears would not buy food or warmth or a place to sleep. Still, her throat tightened, and the world blurred just enough to make her blink hard. She thought of the village she had left behind, of the faces that had watched her go with a mixture of hope and quiet relief. She had told herself she was brave. She had told herself this was a beginning. Standing on that platform, she felt foolish for believing that wanting a home was enough to be given one. A station worker passed her once, then again, his boots loud against the boards. He glanced at her suitcase, at her thin coat, at the way she stood as if rooted to the spot. His eyes held no welcome, only a question he did not bother to ask. On his third pass, he cleared his throat. "You waiting on someone?" he said. Mai Lin opened her mouth. The words caught. She nodded once, then hesitated, and shook her head instead. The man did not wait for an explanation. He shrugged and walked away. The message clear enough. This was not his problem. As daylight began to fade, the platform emptied. The laughter disappeared. Even the wind seemed to lose interest in her. What remained was silence and the growing certainty that the letter had been a lie from the beginning. Whether written in carelessness or cruelty no longer mattered. The result was the same. Her shoulders sagged. She sank onto the edge of her suitcase, the wood cold even through her clothes. For the first time since the ship had docked weeks ago, she let herself feel how tired she was, not just in her body, but in her hope. She had done everything she was told was right. She had trusted words on a page because she had been given nothing else to trust. A man exiting the station paused, glanced at her, then looked away too quickly. Another brushed past as if she were invisible. The humiliation was quiet but complete. There was no shouting, no confrontation, only the steady realization that she did not matter here. The sun dipped low, staining the snow pink and gold. It was beautiful in a way that felt almost mocking. Mai Lin folded the letter one last time and slipped it back into her coat. She did not tear it up. She did not throw it away. She simply stopped believing it. She stood again, lifting her suitcase, though she had no idea where to go. The land stretched out beyond the station, vast and indifferent. Somewhere out there was warmth, she hoped. Somewhere out there was a reason she had survived this long. For now, all she had was the cold, the silence, and the undeniable truth that she had reached the very bottom of her journey, alone in a place that had not been waiting for her at all. Mai Lin did not notice the child at first. Her attention was fixed on the ground, on the thin layer of snow that cracked under each uncertain step as she moved away from the station. Every direction looked the same, and each one felt wrong. She was counting her breaths, telling herself to keep moving, when a small shadow crossed her path. A mitten tugged gently at the edge of her coat. Mai Lin stopped. Slowly, she looked down. The girl could not have been more than 6. Her cheeks were red from the cold, her hair escaping from beneath a knitted hat. She studied Mai Lin with open curiosity, not fear, not judgment, just quiet interest, as if Mai Lin were someone she had been expecting. "Are you my mommy?" the girl asked. The question landed without warning. Mai Lin felt it in her chest before she understood the words. She shook her head once, then paused, unsure why she felt the need to answer at all. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. "I think you look like her," the girl added calmly, as if this settled the matter. A man's voice followed, firm but controlled. "Lily." The girl turned, smiling. "Papa." The man approached with quick, apologetic steps. He was tall, his coat worn but clean, his expression guarded in the way of someone used to standing alone. He rested a hand on the girl's shoulder and looked at Mai Lin. His eyes flicked briefly to her suitcase, then back to her face. "I'm sorry," he said. "She shouldn't bother strangers." "She didn't," Mai Lin replied before thinking. The words surprised them both. The man nodded once, as if accepting that answer without question. "We were just leaving," he said. "It's cold to be standing out here." Lily tightened her grip on Mai Lin's coat. "She doesn't have anyone," the girl said, stating it as a simple fact. Mai Lin gently freed herself, her hands careful, respectful. She expected the man to turn away, to thank her and leave. Instead, he hesitated. "My name's Ethan," he said. "If you need a place to warm up, our cabin isn't far, just until you figure things out." Mai Lin searched his face for expectation, for conditions. She found none, only caution and something like understanding. She nodded once. It felt easier than speaking. They walked away from the station, the wind quieter along the road. Lily skipped ahead, humming softly, as if the world were exactly as it should be. Mai Lin followed, her steps slower, her thoughts louder. She told herself she would not stay. She told herself this was temporary. The cabin stood alone, surrounded by trees stripped bare for winter. Smoke curled from the chimney, thin but steady. Inside, warmth wrapped around Mai Lin so suddenly that she had to steady herself. Ethan set water to boil. Lily pushed a stool toward the fire and sat, watching Mai Lin with the same calm attention. "You can sit," Ethan said. "There's soup." Mai Lin accepted the bowl with both hands. The heat seeped into her fingers, her palms, her arms. She realized then how long she had been cold. They ate in silence. Not uncomfortable, just careful. After a while, Ethan spoke again. "You were waiting for someone." "Yes," Mai Lin said. Then, after a pause, "He never came." Ethan nodded. "I've heard of letters like that." He did not ask questions. He did not apologize for things he had not done. "You're not the first." Lily looked between them. "She can stay," she said. Ethan smiled faintly. "For the night," he said gently. Then, to Mai Lin, "No promises, just rest." Mai Lin looked at the fire, at the simple room, at the child who had asked her an impossible question without knowing its weight. Hope stirred, small and cautious, not a dream, not a promise, just warmth. For the first time since the train left her behind, Mai Lin allowed herself to breathe without fear of what the next breath would bring. Night settled heavily around the cabin, pressing against the windows as the fire burned low. The quiet felt different now, thicker, uneasy. Mai Lin sat near the hearth, mending a loose seam on her coat, when she heard the sound that made her look up at once. It was not loud. Just a small, strained breath from the other room. Lily lay curled beneath a blanket, her face flushed, her skin too warm to the touch. Ethan stood beside the bed, his hands clenched, his calm finally breaking. "She was fine this morning," he said, more to himself than to Mai Lin. "She doesn't get sick often." Mai Lin reached out without asking. She rested her hand on Lily's forehead, then gently lifted the blanket to check her breathing. The girl stirred, murmuring words that made no sense. Mai Lin's chest tightened. She had seen this before. Not here, not in this land. But long ago, in another life, she rarely allowed herself to remember. "She needs help," Mai Lin said quietly. Ethan swallowed. "The nearest town is far. The weather—" He stopped. The words failed him. Fear had taken their place. Mai Lin looked around the small room. The fire, the kettle, the herbs hanging near the door, dried and forgotten. Her hands moved before she could second-guess herself. She asked for water. She asked for clean cloths. Her voice was calm, steady, as if it had been waiting for this moment. As she worked, memories surfaced uninvited. A child's small body. A fever that would not break. A night when she had been too late. Her breath caught, just once. She could still hear her mother's voice telling her to try, to do something, anything. She had failed then. The weight of that failure had crossed the ocean with her. Ethan watched her closely. "You know what you're doing," he said. "I know what I can try," Mai Lin replied. It was not a promise. It was a choice. Hours passed slowly. Lily's fever rose, then held. Ethan paced the room, stopping only when Mai Lin asked for something. His fear shifted into something sharper, hope mixed with dread. He had already lost once. The thought of losing again sat heavy in his chest. At the center of the night, Lily's breathing faltered, just for a moment, but it was enough. Mai Lin froze. The room seemed to close in around her. She saw the past clearly now, as if it were happening again. The choice stood before her, unmistakable. She could step back, let nature decide, protect herself from the pain of failing again. Or she could lean in, risk her heart, and accept whatever came next. She chose to lean in. Mai Lin adjusted the cloth, whispered softly to Lily, words from her own childhood. Her hands were steady, even as her heart raced. She focused on the child in front of her, not the one she could not save years ago. Slowly, Lily's breathing eased. The fever began to break, almost imperceptibly at first. Ethan noticed before Mai Lin did. He knelt beside the bed, disbelief written across his face. "She's cooling," he said. Mai Lin nodded, but did not smile. Not yet. By morning, the fire had burned down to embers. Sunlight crept into the room, pale and uncertain. Lily slept peacefully, her face relaxed, her breath even. Mai Lin sat beside her, exhausted, her body heavy with relief and something deeper she could not name. Ethan spoke softly, as if afraid to disturb the moment. "You didn't have to do this," he said. "You could have left." Mai Lin looked at Lily, then at her own hands. "I stayed," she said simply. The words surprised her. They felt heavier than they should, filled with meaning she had not yet examined. Lily stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She smiled when she saw Mai Lin. "You're still here," she said. "Yes," Mai Lin replied. In that moment something shifted, not declared, not spoken aloud, but understood. She was no longer just a guest warmed by kindness. She had crossed a quiet line, one drawn not by words, but by action. Outside, the wind moved through the trees, carrying the night away. Inside the cabin, a fragile bond took root, one that would demand more than comfort, more than gratitude. Mai Lin felt it clearly now. Belonging was no longer something offered. It was something chosen. Morning came bright and cold, the kind that made every sound carry farther than it should. The snow had hardened overnight, crusted with ice that glittered under the pale sun. Mai Lin stood near the cabin door, shaking out a blanket, watching Lily trace circles in the frost with a stick. Ethan was nearby, repairing a loose fence rail, his attention split between his hands and the child's laughter. It felt almost peaceful. That peace made Mai Lin uneasy. She told herself it was foolish to worry. Lily was stronger now. The fever was gone. Life was moving forward again, simple and quiet. Still, Mai Lin's eyes followed the child without rest, as if looking away might invite trouble. "Can I go closer?" Lily called, pointing toward the line of trees where a narrow stream cut through the land. Ethan hesitated. "Not too close." "I'll watch her," Mai Lin said. She did not think. The words came out on their own. They walked together, Lily hopping ahead, her boots crunching against the snow. The stream was usually calm, a thin ribbon of water winding between ice. Mai Lin stopped a few steps back, her breath catching at the sight of it. The surface looked solid, but she knew better. Winter hid its dangers well. "Stay where I can see you," Mai Lin said. "I will," Lily replied, already crouching near the edge. The moment happened too fast to stop. The ice cracked with a sharp sound, sudden and final. Lily disappeared with a small cry as the surface gave way beneath her. The world seemed to tilt, then rush forward. Mai Lin ran. She did not call out. She did not wait for Ethan. She dropped to her knees, reached into the freezing water, and felt nothing but empty space. Panic surged, loud and fierce. Then her fingers found Lily's coat. Mai Lin pulled, slipping forward as the ice broke further. Cold slammed into her, stealing her breath, biting through her clothes. She dragged Lily up onto what remained of the edge, wrapping her arms around the child with desperate strength. "Hold on," Mai Lin said, though she was not sure Lily could hear her. Her own body began to shake violently. The cold spread fast, heavy and numbing. She pushed Lily farther onto the snow, then tried to follow, but her arms felt weak. For a brief, terrifying moment, she wondered if this was as far as she would get. Ethan's shout cut through the air. He reached them in seconds, dropping to the ground, grabbing both of them at once. Together they scrambled back from the stream, collapsing onto solid ground. Lily coughed, clinging to Mai Lin, her small body trembling. Mai Lin tried to speak, but her teeth chattered uncontrollably. The world narrowed to sound and sensation. The wind, the cold, Lily's breath against her neck. Ethan pulled off his coat and wrapped it around them, his hands shaking as badly as Mai Lin's. "We have to get inside," he said, his voice tight with fear he did not try to hide. They moved as one, Ethan half carrying Mai Lin, Lily pressed between them. Inside the cabin, warmth hit them hard and sudden. Ethan stoked the fire, working fast, efficient, focused. He wrapped Lily in blankets, rubbing her arms until color returned to her face. Mai Lin sat on the floor, her vision swimming. The cold lingered deep inside her, heavy and slow to leave. She felt strangely calm, even as her strength faded. Ethan knelt in front of her. "Why did you do that?" he asked, not accusing, searching. Mai Lin looked at Lily, now safe, now breathing easily. "There was no other choice," she said. The truth of it settled over the room. She had not weighed risks. She had not paused to think of herself. She had acted because something inside her would not allow her to do otherwise. Time passed. The shaking eased. Warmth returned in small waves. Lily slipped from the blankets and crawled into Mai Lin's lap, pressing her face against her chest. "You saved me," Lily whispered. Mai Lin closed her eyes. Tears came then, quiet and unstoppable. Not from fear, not from pain, but from understanding. Whatever she had tried to deny before was gone now. Ethan watched them. His expression changed in a way Mai Lin could not ignore. Respect, gratitude, and something deeper crossed his face. He had lost once. He had feared losing again. And now he saw the truth clearly. Mai Lin had not just protected Lily. She had already chosen her. A full year passed before Mai Lin realized she no longer counted the days. The seasons had turned quietly around the cabin, marking time with thawed earth, tall grass, and snow that no longer felt like an enemy. What had once been a place of waiting had become a place of living. The cabin had changed. There were small signs everywhere, extra dishes on the shelf, a curtain Mai Lin had sewn by hand, a child's drawings pinned near the door. Lily's laughter filled the space now, easy and confident. She ran through the fields without fear, certain she would always be seen. Mai Lin stood outside one afternoon, hanging laundry beneath a wide sky. The land stretched open in every direction, steady and honest. She remembered how vast it had seemed the day she arrived, how it had made her feel small. Now it felt different. It felt like something she could stand on without being pushed away. Ethan worked nearby, repairing a fence with practiced hands. He had changed, too. The sharp edges of his isolation had softened, replaced by quiet trust. He spoke more. He listened better. What grew between them did not come from urgency or need. It grew from shared mornings, from unspoken understanding, from choosing to stay when leaving would have been easier. Lily ran up the hill toward an old tree that had become her favorite place. She stopped and turned back, watching Mai Lin with a serious expression that looked far older than her years. "Can I ask you something?" Lily said. Mai Lin smiled. "You always do." Lily hesitated, then asked the question again, the same one she had asked on the day they met. "Can you be my mommy?" The world seemed to hold its breath. Mai Lin knelt so they were face to face. She saw the hope there, but also something else. Trust. Lily was not asking out of loneliness. She was asking because she already believed the answer. "Yes," Mai Lin said. The word came easily this time. It did not frighten her. It felt like truth. Lily smiled, bright and sure, then threw her arms around Mai Lin's neck. "I knew it," she said. Ethan watched from a distance, his expression careful. Later, as the sun dipped low, he joined Mai Lin by the door. "I don't want to take anything from you," he said. "I don't want to decide your life for you. Whatever you choose, this place, this family, it has to be because you want it." Mai Lin looked at the cabin, at the land, at the child chasing fireflies as evening settled in. "I'm not staying because I have nowhere else to go," she said. "I'm staying because this is where I belong." They married quietly, without spectacle. Not because they hid, but because they did not need witnesses to make it real. The neighbors came slowly, curiosity first, then acceptance. Over time, they stopped looking at Mai Lin as someone passing through and began to see her as someone who would remain. Another year passed. The fields grew greener. The cabin grew fuller. A new life joined theirs, small and demanding, tying the family together in ways words could not explain. Mai Lin held her second child under the same wide sky that had once felt so empty. One evening, long after the children were asleep, Mai Lin stepped outside alone. The stars were clear, sharp against the dark. She thought of the train platform, the cold, the letter that had promised her a life and failed to deliver it. She realized then that the letter had not been wrong. It had simply brought her to the place where her real choice would begin. Behind her, the cabin door opened. Warm light spilled out, followed by familiar footsteps. Mai Lin did not turn right away. She did not need to. For the first time, she understood that home was not something given. It was something built, one brave decision at a time. And far from the place where she had once been left behind, Mai Lin stood grounded, chosen, and finally whole.